All right, let's glance through some of my personal favorites from the week of November 23rd through the 29th. And glancing at my notes, got out a handful of days this week and was in a handful of spots. So let me show you kind of what made my list to send to friends and family. So we start out with a Kingfisher. This bird and I have, it will not get close enough to me for much of a full frame shot, but it's a fun game to keep trying, I guess. This is pretty much as close as it's gotten to me in flight over a long time, and it'll sort of do these U's from one edge of the riverbank out over the river and then come back onto the land and then do another U and sort of progress down the way. As soon as it gets close to me, it's over it and it goes somewhere else. These were fun, random, not necessarily anything I think that's going to sell prints of per se, but these tide was kind of washing up and over the causeway here on the jetty, and it's super slick. So there's this pelican sliding on his butt, crashing. There was this one tern kept chasing everything around and just being not too happy about it. No matter what was going on, it was pretty funny. So it's doing its thing. Another pelican trying to land and sliding. I got a kick out of that one. I feel like that's a spirit animal move for me. Some pelicans and terns. Tern landing. I like this one. The details and the gradients on this tern in flight, low over the causeway. Look at the collection of pelicans that were down there. And I got out on the water a couple days. The boats always look closer. Excuse me. The boats always look closer because of the lenses. This is a good example. An image that I'll submit to Happy Whale, and it's got some details that on the dorsal. On the humpbacks, they tend to look for the flukes too, but the dorsal doesn't hurt to be able to better identify whales that maybe someone else only sees the dorsal of. Look at the humpback's tail with some water drag. Similar kind of thing. I always like these, and it's hard for me to pick my favorite ones because they are all very individual. This one's relatively clean, not a ton of markings on it. This is kind of a good shot that I'll submit to Happy Whale, and they'll get back to me, and it's fun to be able to track those. These are some fun shots in La Jolla. Let's see. This shot is kind of early in the morning, so I guess there was more light than I'm giving myself credit for, because the shutter is at 1/2500, aperture is 7.1, ISO is at 500, and the zoom I'm running pretty close to full zoom out at 422. Well, I guess I'm not running full zoom for that lens, but that's allowing me to freeze all the spray, freeze the animals, which are still sort of moving, but able to capture a nice difference between the foreground, being lit, some of the background being lit, but this secondary smaller pup and these rocks still being in the shade. Same sort of shot. Same sort of shot again, just with the balance a little bit different, kind of the composition a little different. I like this one. The other ones are kind of in the foreground or parallel, or I mean the background or parallel with the subject. This one, the spray's in the foreground. This was an interesting surprise. I've heard of them being around there. I'd never seen one, but it's Peregrine Falcon. And I was just standing there doing something, and I looked down at my feet, and there it was. So I was trying to get the camera settings to shoot closer and this and this and this. It decided to take off, but was able to snap a couple photos of it. For fair statement, I did Photoshop out the bird that it was gonna have for breakfast. So I took those out. That's not exactly my thing to take photos of per se. Another fun look at the sea lions. Low tide, you can see where the green is where the water typically is all the time, and it gives it kind of an extra little piece to that puzzle in that image. There was a bait ball, and it ran straight into children's pool, right up to the edge of the water, to where some of the fish actually washed up on the beach. But there was a little seal pup kind of practicing his hunting and foraging. It was pretty funny to watch. Some fun details. What I like about this shot, I like the composition, how it goes from light to dark, and how that adds so much to the seal and how it works. Similar thing here, the light to the dark. This one was a Brant's goose. I haven't seen a lot of those recently, and just snapped a couple photos. Here's a osprey sitting on top of one of the trees down by the river, and these are pretty frequent visitors there. Pelican at sunset. Some pelicans offshore. It was super smooth day that day on the boat. More smooth offshore. Some nice gradients. I liked this one. Some mornings before the wind picks up, there's still a little bit of a swell, but the wind hasn't started rippling it yet. And then on this particular one, I really enjoyed the broken reflection across the surface here. That just sort of did it for me. So I think that wraps up this week. And yeah, if you're on my site, all the data for the photos as far as shutter, aperture, ISO, zoom, it's all listed below, as well as some notes. If you're on a video hosting site, I'm going to link my website below. You can jump on over and take a look at it. And yeah, we'll check you guys next week with some more of these.